It's time to take your seat in the front row with Mike Vaccaro. Here's your host, Mike Vaccaro.
Hey, thank you, Chuck, and welcome everybody once again. Mike Vaccaro here in the front row. As always, behind the scenes, it's JR Quitman, our creator, producer, and director. We thank you for watching, for listening, and remind you to subscribe, to like, and share if you do like what you're seeing. And also, we remind you we are a CLNS Media Network podcast. Go to clnsmedia.com for more great shows. Coming up today, it's episode number 66. We go back to football, back to our roots here in Wilmington, North Carolina. It is Clyde Simmons. He was born in South Carolina, moved to Wilmington, played at New Hanover High School, a variety of sports, but excelled in football. From Wilmington, went to Western Carolina and was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, spending 15 years in the NFL as a defensive lineman, twice a Pro Bowler, and also led the league in sacks one of those seasons as well. We hear about his journey through the NFL and also about what he's doing now coaching-wise since his playing days. Again, 15 years in the NFL, played for Buddy Ryan and some other great coaches as well. Tells us about those coaches, including Tom Coughlin, his head coach with the Jacksonville Jaguars, a run to the AFC Championship back in 1996. Our guest, episode number 66, it is Clyde Simmons. Well, Clyde, appreciate you joining us here today and sharing your story with us. And you're a guy from where we're headquartered in Wilmington, North Carolina, so it's great to have you on. And for you, you're born in South Carolina, actually, right in Lane, South Carolina. What led to you moving to Wilmington and obviously having a great career here in Wilmington?
Well, my mother and my father were living in Lane when I was born, and my brother was born a year later. And being that it's a small farming community, my mother didn't want us to grow up in that, and my mother and parents and father didn't want us to grow up in that community, just sitting there working fields and doing stuff back in the 60s and stuff right there. So, they decided to come here and give themselves a different opportunity and give us an opportunity too. And I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, you were born in the 60s, as you said, moved to Wilmington. What was Wilmington life like back in those days in the 60s and 70s for you?
For me, it was a fun time. I mean, just because, being a child and stuff, you don't really realize all the stuff, the turmoil that was going on with the racial climates and all the stuff. I can remember as a time growing up in Taylor Homes where, back when they was having the issues with racial tension and all the stuff, and the National Guard would be marching up and down the street at night, doing the stuff. And my mother, I can remember telling me, in them projects in Taylor Homes, just get out of that window. You don't know what's going on out of there. You don't know if people shooting or nothing. So we were sleeping in closets with them brick buildings and stuff, just making sure we was trying to stay safe.
Again, you get to Wilmington, you go to New Hanover High School in the early 80s. Take us through that and playing on the football team for the Wildcats at the time and what that was like.
I got there in my sophomore year was 79. Starting at 79, I was playing JV football, JV basketball, and all the stuff right there. But for us, I had some guys that were some older cats, Greg Wallace, Greg Smith, Yogi, Donis Shavers. Those were some linemen there. There was a couple other cats that were there. As in football players that were really good, really big. And they just kind of set the groundwork for me as in what it takes to play at, a high school player. Now, I wasn't nowhere as big as those guys was. I was barely 180 pounds when I got there as a sophomore. But, this time and all the stuff, get a little bigger as you get a little older. But, they said that the framework in there about the physicality, about what you got to do to play football at New Hanover. And that was one of the things I was really grateful for.
What was it about football? And did you play other sports during that time as well?
Played basketball, played baseball my sophomore year, and kept playing basketball all through high school, football and basketball. I stopped playing baseball after my sophomore year, and then Basketball was Jim Heron was the coach my junior year, and then he left and went somewhere with I think went Georgia Tech with Bobby Crimmins, and then Bill Wade came in there, and James Emerson was an assistant. We had some great coaches there. Let alone Joe Miller as the football coach. They just helped us understand that what. This is a means to an end. Getting a scholarship to go to college. A lot of kids, especially then, was not thinking about going to college and all the stuff. But as you get older, or you start figuring it out, going to college is something that was attainable.
We had Kenny Gattison on previously as a guest. I know he was an outstanding basketball player, played football as well. Were you playing basketball with him and playing with Michael Jordan in Wilmington at that time as well?
Yeah, me and Kenny went to graduate the same year, and we known each other since we were like 6 years old. Over in Taylor Homes and that area. And Mike grew up on a different part of town, but we played against each other in basketball. And me and Mike played baseball, Babe Ruth baseball together. As 13 through 15. He was a 15-year-old, and I still was a 13-year-old. But we played a couple games before I went and played on the 13-year-old league. And he stayed up in the other thing with Parker's food store was the sponsor of our baseball team.
Great stories there with Jordan. Could you see? Did you guys know that? That Michael Jordan was athletic and had a future that he had, and maybe yourselves as well. I mean, again, Kenny Gattison, great career for him in the NBA, great career for you in the NFL. Did you guys know there was something bigger in the future for you guys at the time?
We just was kids playing ball, and I think it's not like today's kids and all the stuff right there. Every kid that I believe now has an ambition or dream to say, "Oh, I'm going to be an NBA, I'm going to be an NFL, I'm going to be a Major League Baseball player, I'm going to be whatever it may be." They're going to play pro sports. Mm-hmm. Whereas we was more about playing and all the stuff. And if it happened, it happened. Because, we had some successful people, athletes-wise, that went on to play. There was like Hook Nixon played a little baseball. And then I can't remember his name, but he was a Shavers. I believe his name was Shavers. Went to Lamar. Played basketball out there. He played a little pro ball for a little while. There's tons of other guys in there. There's some gentlemen that are older than us, old enough to be out. I guess my mother's age or something. Roman Gabriel, Sonny Jurgensen. Those guys, wasn't around when we was playing, but we knew the history. So it's always that possibility. But the whole thing was, we didn't think about saying like the kids do today is, everything for them is, I'm going to be a pro player. Well, everybody ain't going to be a pro player.
Well, again, you did that with football. And you mentioned Joe Miller, the late Joe Miller. What was he like as a coach to you? And what influence did he have on you and maybe not just your career, but your life as you moved on from football?
Well, I got to say, I thank Joe for a lot of stuff in there because, when I was coming out, he was always making sure that we understood that, there's more scholarships given out in football than there is in basketball, all the stuff right there. I didn't ever consider myself going to school to play basketball. Just wanted to go to school. And with him, it was always about, preparing yourself for the next task. You can't just go out and decide that you wanted to do something. Well, you got to go out there and work at it. And I think, from that point on, and especially with football, being that he was a Pennsylvania guy, and Penn State was, his kind of school and all the stuff that when we was there, we looked like Penn State. We had uniforms. The black ones looked like Penn State. The oranges looked like Clemson. But it was all about being physical. The nature of the game was a physical ball game. And then if you got it very physical, then, you got a chance to be something. And every day we came out, there was always something that was going to be increasing the physicality of the game. And then each player took it upon themselves to be the most physical guy and stuff. And then after a while, that was the norm, what you play New Hanover, you're going to play a physical game. And that was just it. And then, he got the weight room really going in there, especially after I left and all the stuff right there. But, and that's the reason why he had so much success in that. So he was developing players. He was getting them to think the right way about playing football. And then, it kind of fed into the basketball team, especially with us. And then those things right there, it's a natural occurrence for us that, you're going to be a physical football team. And then a lot of football players play basketball, especially in my age, for my group. And then we just naturally was, in a sense, playing a little bully ball in the beginning. So after a while, the physicality of the game was like, this is what it is. It's not everybody can't play it. And everybody can't play football. Everybody can't play basketball. So, you start understanding those things earlier, and it helped me as I got to college, as I got into pros and all the stuff, with just referring back to the mentality of what they did for me back then.
And you talk about college, you went to Western Carolina. What was recruitment like for you coming out of New Hanover High School?
Well, it wasn't the same as it was for a lot of these cats in there. For me, I was being recruited by smaller schools, Southern Conference schools, HBCUs. I think the only one that might have said something was Duke, but they really didn't fall into play about following up on anything. But for me, I just took the opportunity to pick Western because of one, Coach Miller went to Western Carolina, and they got some film up there to him, and they came in it late, but they said all the right things and did all the right things to make me want to say, okay, I want to go to school there.
Cullowhee is a lot different than Wilmington. What was that transition like going from the life of the beach to the life in the mountains, your time in Western Carolina?
Well, yeah, you're right. It was really different. First of all, back then, it was no matter which way you went, it was an 8-hour drive. So you can take 40, but 40 didn't go all the way to Raleigh back then. So you had to go through there and take it up there, or you can go through Charlotte, or you can go through Columbia, South Carolina. But it was always an 8-hour drive regardless. And then Western, it's way different from Wilmington because, when you are in Wilmington, you can walk to the corner store, and if you wanted to buy a beer, and if you was old enough back then, you could buy a beer at 18. You could buy a beer, but in Cullowhee, you had to drive 7 miles to go get a beer. So it was always something comical in there. And then, the weather, so it get colder a little bit sooner than it did in Wilmington, and stayed a little colder, a little longer. So that was a little bit of an adjustment for me. But, once you got past those early stages of it, Western was a really nice place to go to. I mean, we had a lot of good memories. I had a lot of good memories up there. Had a lot of good friends up there, lifelong friends up there. And it's just one of the places that you decide that you want to stay. It's a good place to stay.
Yeah, you're there from 82 to 85. It's in the Southern Conference, and you really excelled during that time. Why? What was it about you? Why did you have such a great career with the Catamounts?
I think that, Coach Waters I got to thank Coach Waters and Coach Session for a lot of that stuff right there. I mean, Coach Waters was really hard on me about a lot of stuff. Coach Miller was pretty tough and pretty disciplined, but Coach Waters stepped it up a little bit. And as I got older, I started understanding why he was doing what he did, because he wasn't trying to help you just be a better football player. He was helping you be a better man. And I'm very appreciative of what he did on the stuff. I didn't agree with it at that time because, I was like, I'm getting out of this place. I'm leaving. I'm here. But my line brother, he was like, okay, that's fine. If you want to leave, you want to leave. But think about this. If you leave and it's exactly the same where you go to, then what are you going to do then? I said, man, why you want to do that? You're going to make me start thinking now. I was just going reaction. typical of most 19-year-olds. You just going to go and just think and not think about the consequences of it and just do. So I end up staying. I end up absolutely appreciating that I did stay because I knew what I was getting into. I knew what all the stuff right there. And all I had to do was just continue to work on me, me being the football player and trying to get all those things in there. So that's what I continue to work on. And Western was the right place for it because I knew I had people that cared about me. My position coach, Coach Sesser, Coach Waters, even though he didn't show it the way I wanted him to show it. And then, my good friend up there, he was a wide receiver coach when I was there. And he's the godfather of a couple of my kids and stuff right there. And him, Coach Mutt, Al DeGraffery, came great friendship. It got even better after I left school because, he kept staying in touch. Coach Waters would call now and then. I would talk to him now and then when I go back on campus. I would see Coach Sessa. I talked to him a bunch and stuff right there before he passed, and Mutt before he passed. Like I said, one of my best friends that I ever had from my experiences up there was him. And the place is one of those places that it develops you into a better man if you can stay there and get through all the stuff right there, and a better woman if you can get through all of the stuff right there, because it wasn't always going to be the most, I guess, sweet place. All the stuff right there. Whereas Wilmington, you got all the things that you can get into and all the stuff. Well, Western didn't have all those things. So you learn how to adapt and take what you get and learn how to, deal with the lack of. So, so when things got rough or stuff up there, I already was challenging myself because, one, Coach Miller has trained me well from being all the stuff right there. Coach Wade, Coach Emerson has changed me well from being all those things in Wilmington and all the stuff, because we always came from that mentality of work that you earn is not given. So everything that came about in that stuff was something that, helped me on my journey as a coach, as a former player, as a player at the time, to understand that I have to go out here and work for everything I get. It's nothing going to give it to me for free. I have to get everything I get. I have to earn it.
Yeah, you maybe didn't realize that as at the time as a player, right? But now looking back as a coach yourself, you certainly realize that. But again, as a player, outstanding career. You finished third in career sacks with Western Carolina. You led them to the I-AA National Championship in 1983, and you're inducted into their Hall of Fame there as well, the Athletic Hall of Fame. What does that say about you and the career that you had as you maybe take a little time and look back at that time?
Going through all the stuff right there, because, we had some pretty good players when I was there, and there's a reason why we was able to get into the national championship game and win some ball games the first 3 years I was there as a player. For me, it was the competition. You made a play, I got to make a play, and that breeded on to wherever I went to after that. I was always about, I don't need to tell you that, oh, I'm pretty good. My whole thing was, watch. And taking that mentality up there really helped me a lot, because everybody's trying to find their place. Everybody's trying to find their niche. Some people like to talk about it. I wasn't a big talker about it, all those things. Don't get me wrong, I talked just as much as anybody else did. But my thing was always a little bit less vocal, less volume. Not like I am now. I talk too much now. But then it was, all right, whatever. And take this punch in your mouth and bye. So that mentality as a player was really good, because you go out there and show your stuff. You ain't got to tell people that you're great. People see that you're great. They don't need to know that, oh, yeah, I got to sell myself, because if I don't sell myself, nobody else will. Well, even in today's game, people see greatness. They don't have to tell you great, but everybody wants to market themselves. And I understand the whole concept of it, but am I a big fan of it? No, because that's just not who I am. And I'm quite content with just, just watching, but now today's world, then, you didn't worry about marketing so much in there. And then the way they taught you and all the stuff was like, hey, show it. Don't tell me about it. Show it. Now, everybody wants to hear a story. I don't want to hear a story. I want to see. I want to see. I like watching movies. Movies tell me everything I need to do. I don't need nobody to tell me what it's going to be. Let me watch the story. So that's the way I approached things when I played was, I'm not going to tell you about anything. Line up in there. Let's just see who's going to win. And luckily, at that time when I was at Western, I won more than I lost. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Again, the year that you went to the I-AA championship, you lost in the championship game, unfortunately. Your other losses were against Clemson and Wake Forest, which were higher levels, so not bad. So obviously you were playing well during your career, but how does a guy go from Cullowhee to being drafted in the 9th round by the Eagles? How did that happen? When did you find out about that?
Well, this is to kind of jump around a little bit, but the game is different now, whereas they still do the same processes and as in discovering and finding players and all the stuff. The scouts go out and look at film and they'll get a hot list of players and all the stuff, and they'll do all the things right there, and then they go get more research and more research and more research, just like they do today's game. But then it was just the combine, and then you worked out individually. It wasn't pro days, so you may work out, for a number of teams and all the stuff right there. And one thing that came across was, and I kind of, as I got more into the coaching and start talking to people that was scouting when I was playing and scouting when I was coaching in the league, about, how they evaluate. And I remember one scout, he was at Pittsburgh then. And he was like, I walked in the building because he was watching tape, and I walked into the offices upstairs in Western, and he says, "You're 96." I said, "Yes, sir." Yes, sir. Then he grabbed me by my legs, thinking that, okay, whether or not it was big as it was, but at that time I was probably maybe 220, maybe. I don't think I was that heavy then, because I think it was my sophomore year, so I might have been 220, if that, at that time of year. And back then I was more legs than I was arms and shoulders and all the stuff right there. And he said, just keep playing and keep doing what you're doing. We see something. I didn't think much of it, because when I went to school, I wasn't thinking about playing pro ball. I just wanted to just get a good education. I wanted to give myself opportunity to move on and do well. Then when you came out of college, if you made $35,000, you was making a pretty good living back then. Now, from that story to tell you is that they'll find you, and that's what happens. Well, by the time I was a senior, I was a preseason All-American. I didn't make the all-conference teams and the All-American teams as a junior, but I was like honorable mention and some other things in there, just because we had such a dominant guy on the other side with Lewis Cooper. And all the good stuff I did, well, he just ramped it up a little bit more and did even more stuff. So like I said, if I had 8 sacks, he had 10. If I had 5 tackles for losses, he had 7. Those kind of things right there. So, and he set a lot of records. He set the bar. So, like, okay, I'm going to break something out of there. I may not get all of it, but I'm going to break something. And, like I said, finished third and at that time in the team's history and sacks. I think I finished behind Lewis in all-time career sacks, not sacks, but tackle for losses. But I set the season record for most tackle for losses in the season. I don't know if it still stands because they had a pretty good player named Spicer that came on and did a lot of good stuff there. Those things right there start building the picture of Clyde Simmons, the football player. And so, you start getting notoriety and all the stuff right there. And then I had a really big game when we played Florida State. I had something like almost 20 tackles and a couple sacks and some tackle for losses. And, that's playing against the big boys. And so it's like, oh, well, he can play against the big boys. And so I had a great game that game, even though we got the brakes beat off of us, So, yeah, you can play enough plays. You can make a lot of plays. So, but those are the things that kind of led to people coming in. And, the kids today, they got a pro day and a combine and do all the stuff right there. Well, imagine if you come in as a scout that comes in on Monday and then another one comes in on Thursday. Well, you got to work out for both of them. It ain't, I'm just going to work out this for this one. I ain't going to do enough for that one. No. So I can remember at times there was some weeks there was 2, sometimes there's 3 different teams that will come in and I got to work out for each team the same way I worked out for the one team that came just one day week. And it was just a progression that, it's different, but it's still the same stuff that they go through. But now they got a combine and a pro day. Whereas when I came out, you might have had 2-3 different scouts, 2 different teams that you may have to work out for. And it's not I'm just going to do the 40. Oh, I'm just going to do no. The guy who coached me in Philadelphia came and worked me out. I thought he was just another scout. I didn't know he was a position coach. When he got done, and when I got done working out for him, I had to go lay down. And that was that kind of day. And I did not know he was the position coach. I just assumed he was just another scout. And then when I got the call about being drafted, the day of the draft, because I was a little bit hot because that year I finished second in the conference player of the year, defensive player of the year, behind Dino Hackett. And I'm thinking I think Dino won it by like 10 votes or something like that. And I was a little bit hot about it. I was like, all right. But Dino ended up being a second-round pick for Kansas City, And then I said, all right. So I'm like, oh, Dino got second round. That's when the draft was just one day. And then they had a wide receiver from Furman. I'm like, wait a minute now. So I was starting to get a little bit hot. I was like, man, no, way better than that dude. But 2 different positions, 2 different thoughts. And then it was around about 5 or so right there. I ain't got a call yet. Nobody knows stuff right there. And I'm starting to get a little bit hot. Like, I can't believe this because I saw on the news where these guys that got drafted out of the conference and all that stuff. And I was like, man, I don't even care if I get drafted, And then Dallas had sent a scout down. He was in town. Like, if you don't get drafted, we got this contract right there. I'm like, whatever, man. I understand. So we were sitting there watching television with the scout, me and my line brother, sitting there watching watching HBO bootleg at the time, watching HBO, and got the call. Oh, this is such and such with the Eagles. We just drafted you in the 9th round. Whoa. I was happy, did not know, but those are things that, you go through the process and you realize, how fortunate you are, because everybody doesn't get drafted. In today's game, I wouldn't have been drafted. So that's the thing that people got to remember, that, just because you're a free agent doesn't mean that you're not a good football player. So in today's game, I would have been an undrafted player, and all the stuff. And, so, Buddy, Dale Hop, they all saw something in me. At that time I was same height. I was maybe 245, 248, something like that. So they saw something in me. And, I just committed myself to getting bigger and stronger because, it wasn't no way in the world, especially when, I got some horror stories for when getting tossed out of bounds because, you're too light. So, hey, it changes the complexity of it when you start thinking about what makes you different, because everybody has something in their life or something in their football story or whatever that make them different and to change them about how they approach stuff in there.
Yeah, obviously things worked out for you. You didn't go to the Cowboys, instead to the rival, the Eagles. Played for Buddy Ryan, 86 to 93. You were there, and during that time, you played alongside Reggie White. You played with Jerome Brown. Do you remember your welcome to the NFL moment, playing with those guys, and what it was like early on for you?
Because I got there a year before Jerome, and Reggie had got there a year before I did. And Buddy came my rookie year. Buddy, he was the head coach when I got drafted. But what I was telling you earlier about, you changing stories because we was playing the Giants, and they went up winning the Super Bowl that year. But they had Bill Roberts. At the time they were beating the brakes off us, and Buddy was like that. Just throw them young guys in there and let them play. So, got to get to play some pro football. Well, I was playing right in. Bill Roberts, Damon Johnson. So they had a stretch team, a little double team right there, and they hit me. And they hit me so hard and fast on that I was trying to get my feet on the ground. Them jokers would just hand me up in the air. And literally, I was trying to just get my feet back on the ground. And next thing you know, they drive me out past the numbers. Them two, some souls took and threw my butt out of bounds. I'm out in the out of bounds, the big white stripe that you got on the sideline and just sitting down there. And them two jokers are over top of me, looking down on me, high-fiving each other like that. I said to myself, and breathing heavy, hard too, like I'm okay. And from that point on, right, my life, changed my football career, because when it became time to start, that next morning I was in the weight room and I took it in there. And that Wednesday I went to the offensive line. I said, listen, I'm apologizing now because every rep from now on with me is going to be a game rep, because I had never been thrown around like that in my life. As much we all been knocked down, we all been, somebody got the best of us, but I'd never been physically manhandled like that ever. So it changed my complexity about stuff like that. I can handle getting beat. That one thing, because you stay in it long enough, you will get beat and you will get got. Everybody. Don't think everybody think they're a deception to it. Everybody gets got. But that point right there was like, I will never get got like that ever again. And when I changed my mindset on that right there, my game started elevating. And then, by the end of the year, I got a couple sacks, playing more. And then going into year two, at the end of year one, I had my exit meeting with Buddy. He said, listen, I want you to be my starting right end next year. Get your butt in the weight room, get stronger. You got to have it. And that was my exit meeting with him. Now, he was the kind of person that he wouldn't remember your name until you start doing something. And so, for the longest, I was just 96. And then I became Clyde. So until then, I was just 96. And I said, hey, 96. And then by the time, start doing that, Clyde, yeah, I need you to say, yes, sir. you know. So that's the kind of stuff that, you take back those lessons that you learn from whatever it may be in life and football and all the stuff right there, and it's applied. But that changed my whole trajectory about being a football player, because I might have been out of the game in a year or two if I didn't change my mentality on that side.
Yeah, so a little bit of failure drove you and helped you become the player that you were. And what that was, 1989, you led the team in sacks, 15 and a half sacks. In 1992, you led the NFL in sacks with 19 sacks. So you've got a guy like Reggie White, you've got Jerome Brown there. Why is it you getting the sacks? What were you doing? And how did having those guys maybe help you as well?
Well, it goes back to what I was saying about in college about competing. And it's even more rampant up front when I was in Philadelphia. We all want success. We all wanted all the stuff right there because, it's not enough just to be playing. You got to make plays. And that's the way it wasn't based on potential like so much now. This stuff is now. If you didn't make plays, you didn't get a decent paycheck. And I was just under the mentality, well, I'm not doing this just to be doing it. I love football. I love playing football and all the stuff, but I'm putting my body, my mind, and my soul on the line every day when I do this. And this is the way I'm choosing to feed my family. I'm choosing a house and put clothes on my children's back and put a house roof over their head and, take care of my family. So I got to make plays. So if I don't make plays, well, my paycheck ain't going to be bigger. And that was one of the things that motivated me a lot about the stuff. But it wasn't the only thing, because I could have done something else to make a paycheck. Pride says that, you know what, I want to be better. I want to be just come in, just not just be a guy that just been out there. So, but I still wanted to give my opportunity to take care of my family the best way I could. And this is where I chose to. So the competition grew. Now, me and my petty ways, well, Reggie was a first round pick. Jerome was a first round pick. And then there was Mike Golick. He was a fifth round pick out of when he got drafted with Houston. Then there was Mike Pitts. He was a first round pick from Atlanta that we traded for in '87. So I'm the little ninth round pick that, don't get to be the first round stuff in there. So I ain't got all the stuff. So I'm already a little chip on my shoulder, but it wouldn't, I'm not one of the ones that talk about it. So I was just like, you know what? They say they are better than me. I love those guys to death. Those they are my brothers. I mean, I love them as much as I love my brother Jimmy. But the petty guy in me was like, you ain't gonna outshine me just because you're a first round pick. You're not gonna be better than me just because you're a first round pick. All that says is to me was, well, you went to a better school for football. You did better things in college than I did, or played against more competition and did things at a higher level than I did as a college player. All that means that your college career was better than mine. You're not going to be a better football player than me. So that drove me, because I am that petty, long ninth round starter with all these first round starters over here. Well, people didn't know that. They didn't know that I was not a first round pick. I get a lot of questions from a lot of people, and we were just drafting in the first, second. No, man, that wouldn't even be drafted in today's game. But that was those guys were the same way too. Even as first rounders, they was always like, I gotta make plays. It doesn't matter if I was a first round player. They'll ship me out of here if I ain't getting no plays done. And our mentality was, well, if he gets a sack, I gotta have a sack today too. If he gets tackled for loss, I gotta have tackle for losses. And we took that mentality right there, and we all fed on that kind of stuff right there, because it was in my mind, it's a dog-eat-dog world. So hey, if you ain't the top, you getting egg. So we all like to eat. So that was one of the things that drove us as a group, and I think that's helped us to be and helped me personally to overcome some of my pettiness.
Well, that friendly competition went a long way because you had the number one defense in the NFL, in 1991 in the Pro Bowl, first time for you. And on that Pro Bowl was not just you, but Reggie White, Jerome Brown, Seth Joyner, Eric Allen, a cornerback on the Eagles as well. How good was that defensive team? Buddy Ryan came from the Chicago Bears, winning the Super Bowl, and that vaunted defensive team with the Bears. How good was your defensive team back in 1991?
I wish that we made the playoffs. I wish. I mean, that's how dominant we were on defense. Randall got hurt that year. I think we started like 6 or 7 quarterbacks or something stupid that year, and won 10 games, and we lost against Dallas week 15, I think it was. So the winner would have been in, and we lost on a punt return to lose the game and not make the playoffs. And I think I just felt like if we got in as well as we was doing and playing on defense, we would have won a Super Bowl that year. I just think that they talk about got to be a balance and all the stuff. We were so dominant, as in doing stuff, turning the ball over, giving more opportunities, doing all the things in there. Like I said, we had six, 7 quarterbacks we played that year, and for us, that started for us after Randall had got hurt. And but if we would have got in, that was the number one thing that I think we would have won a Super Bowl that year. Just because that's how dominant we was on defense that year, as in taking the ball away, stopping the run, stopping the pass, rushing the passer. Just everything was clicking in that stuff right there, and the scheme did help that he turned some people loose, and we had some good rushers and blitzers and all the things in there. So I think we would have won the Super Bowl just by based what we did on defense.
Yeah, we had Mike Golick on previously as well. He kind of lamented the same thing again with Randall Cunningham getting injured and derailing that team, if you will. But again, during your time, who was your biggest rivalry? Was it the Cowboys? I mean, you had kind of the Bounty Bowls of the 1989 season there. Was that what you consider your biggest rival with the Eagles, your time there?
For me, I mean, Cowboys were a big rivalry and all the stuff. But for me, I always took more pride in playing the Redskins, the Commanders. I think the Cardinals, when they was in St. Louis, matched up better with us against anybody else in the division, just because they were so big up front. And the Giants were pretty good, but I think for me, the Redskins was probably my the one that I enjoyed playing the most. I didn't like them playing them because they was running that OT and them jokers coming and they was hogs and them, they was like Big Mac trucks running around there. But for me, I mean, a lot of people think the Cowboys and all the stuff right there. Yeah, I would say that's a bit of rivalry. It is, and I don't really like the Cowboys. I got family members that do like the Cowboys, and I talk about them. And what about them Cowboys? They suck. So, but that's just me and my personal beef with Cowboys. But for my games and all the stuff that my experience in there, I enjoyed playing the Redskins more. Even though I had probably had more success against the Cowboys, but I enjoyed playing the Redskins more. I enjoyed going to DC and all the stuff right there.
Was there a quarterback you enjoyed sacking more than others, or that was for you an easy guy to sack?
I think Troy's. I think I sacked him more than anybody else, but I just enjoy getting sacks, because they too hard to get. I mean, people think that, get sacks. No, they hard to get. Gary Cobb once said to me, and he was like, A hurry is when you make the quarterback throw the ball a little faster than you want to. And he says you have to get 1,000 hurries to equal 1 sack. And as last time I checked, I don't think I got 1,000 hurries in my career. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, a lot of sacks. You're currently 22nd all-time, 121 and a half sacks, and not just all in Philadelphia. You eventually moved on to Arizona, played again for Buddy Ryan there with the Cardinals, went to Jacksonville, played for Tom Coughlin, the Bengals, the Bears as well. Those stops, what do you remember most about those stops? I know with Jacksonville, you got to the AFC Championship game in just a second year of that franchise.
Well, I went to Arizona thinking that, that Buddy was going to be able to create the same atmosphere that he created for us when we was in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. But there was a lot of stuff that was not spoken about and done, and all the stuff right there was undermining a lot of stuff that he was trying to get done out there. And so my experience in Arizona is not that favorable. So I try to forget those 2 years of my life. But, I enjoyed my time down in Jacksonville. Tom Coughlin, I got a lot of respect for the man. The coach is an asshole, but, the man is a good man, because he believed in what he believed in, and he taught well, and he has some good things. And so I got a lot of respect for Tom Coughlin about what he does and what he did, why he did it the way he did. And I'm appreciative of it because he gave me an opportunity to play down there. I probably would have went somewhere else and, gave me a chance to get in there and get a chance to play for opportunity to play in the Super Bowl. Then Cincinnati, it was fun. Cincinnati. That's back then. Cincinnati wasn't a great place. A lot
different than today's Cincinnati.
It was a lot different. And then Chicago, their organization, I can't say nothing but great things about it from the years I've been in there. I know they had some struggles back and forth about some stuff going on, but my years in there, I have nothing but great things to say about the place and all the stuff, how they treated the players, how they performed, how they did everything first class. Everything was, conducive for success. And, later on, after they fired me, because I was too old and thought I could play but couldn't play no more, they had the chance. They went to the Super Bowl. Did they go to the Super Bowl? No, they go to Super Bowl. They made the playoffs that year. Mm-hmm. Made the playoffs a year. They won the division and made the playoffs. So you can't fault them on the stuff like that. So they had some chances and all that stuff. But I enjoyed, 4 out of the 5 stops I had. 4 out of 5.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good. And again, with Jacksonville, you get to the AFC Championship game. Along the way, you knock off the Bills, a very good Bills team. And you had a pick 6 against Jim Kelly. Is that what I saw?
Yeah. I mean, it was a shovel pass, and, they try to make me fly upfield. But, I've been around a little bit, so I can see that this guy wasn't, as studying my guy, all the stuff as in preparing myself for the game, I'm always studying my opponent. And usually that's my individual I'm going to play against, or individuals I'm going to play against, typically. And then this guy, he did something that was not the norm. Well, I just held on a little bit longer, and then I can see him trying to shovel up, and then I just stepped in and picked it off. And at that time, they was running up and down the field on us, boy. They was stomping mud hoses in it, and that year, the playoff run was a good year for me, a good playoff run for me, because I made a lot of plays throughout the course of that game, the one in Denver. We didn't win in New England, but, made a lot of plays and kind of rejuvenated my career. It was getting to that point where it's like, can he still play? Can he do all the stuff? But went to Jacksonville, a lot of young guys and all the stuff right there. When you're not the oldest, because the punter's still older than you and all the stuff right there. But when you're the older, you realize, it's more so when you get older and all the stuff, and you still got a little juice in the tank, that people look at you, how you work, how you do all the stuff right there. So, it put a little juice, a little bit of spark back in the legs a little bit, and then it made me feel about it. And then I had John Pease was a good D-line coach for me. They took care of me, whereas, like I said, Tom was in his ways about doing it. Everybody does the same thing. He was like, hey, I got you. He took care of me and all the stuff. So instead of me taking 25, 30 reps at practice, I was taking 10, 15. As the workman and the workman mentality I have and all the stuff, work is work is work is work is work. So I was like, you know what? If it's 30 reps, it's whatever, I'll take them. But no, he was like, no, get your tail out of there. All right, man. But it helped me because I had more juice in the tank. I wasn't playing 80, 90% of the plays. I was playing at about a 45, 50% of the plays. So I had more spark, more gas. And that's when it's kind of started morphing into having a rotation or about linemen instead of your guys playing on dang near 100%. It started morphing into something else. And I'm appreciative of that because getting that year and figuring that out right there, I still got to do everything I got to do to make sure I'm in condition and in shape and do all the other things right there. But it changed the way I approached football, as in, just making sure I'm in shape, making sure all the stuff in there. But my mentality was, whatever it took for me to get to third down, because I became more of a third down guy than I was at first and second down. And just got to figure ways to get it. I still play first and second down, but when it's time to rush, it's time to rush. And they, that's what they developed, that mentality for me. I was always consider myself a pass rusher, but it was, I don't have to be that dog in the front all the time. I just make sure that, when it's time to fight, I fight.
And you fought for 15 years. You missed 4 games in 15 years. How did you do it? Especially playing in Philadelphia, playing on the turf of the Vet. I'm sure other places you went to as well. 15 years in the NFL, 121 and a half sacks, 3 interceptions, 25 forced fumbles. I mean, that's an amazing career for a defensive lineman.
Thank you. But I'm trying to say, I missed 4 games. I don't remember missing them.
They said just 4 games, 236 games that you played. One of those years you only played 12. I'm not sure why. Were you injured at the time?
I got to check that out because, every time I was going to miss substantial time, the season ended. It was always the last game of the year.
Maybe was it a strike year? Was it a strike year maybe?
That might be the kicker then. That might be the kicker. I don't count those 4 games.
So then you didn't miss those games. You played in every game that you were available to play.
Yes. Now we're on the same page because I'm like, I don't remember missing the game because I always talk to my sons about games and stuff right there. Like, you hurt. I mean, if you're hurt, yeah, that's fine. But it's one thing to be hurt and it's injured. There's 2 different things. All the stuff right there. So, and I always talk. I never missed a game of anything from high school to when I stopped playing. I didn't even miss nothing in junior high. So I would always tell my sons that right there. You missed a game. No, I didn't. I never missed a game ever. Ever. But that's just me and my foolish ways. So
it was more your pride than anything else to keep going every single game. Make yourself the best ability is availability, right? Especially when you get to the pro level. Exactly.
I told you I was petty. I told you I was petty. But so it's like, no, but that's really the true nature of when you get to pros. Is if you ain't available, and you got to develop some toughness about you, and but you got to be smart about it. I as a college coach now and all the stuff, I don't get involved with whether or not a guy can or cannot go. I don't question anybody's toughness, because if you play this game, if you play a sport or something like that, I think that the number one thing is your health. And you got to make sure that you're doing everything that you feel you can do. If you feel you can play. Now, there's sometimes I do have to hold a couple back because they don't have sense enough that, you know what, no, you're not playing today. Don't ask me again. You're not. So, you have to be sometimes and do those things. But for me, today's game and all the stuff right there, because of injury prevention and all the stuff, people recover way faster than they do, but you got to still be smart about it, and especially when these concussions and all the things right there. But, when they can run and all the stuff, where they can protect themselves, that's my true nature of what I believe in, is you got to be able to defend yourself, because if you can't defend yourself, then you're going to have issues about staying healthy, not getting hurt. So it's always got to be able to defend yourself.
But it was different back in the 80s and 90s, right? I mean, were they recognizing concussions? Did you see guys playing with and through concussions during that time?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I can remember myself having one, but I couldn't see. I remember that I closed one eye, I see one. I opened two eyes, I see two. So I was like, I can't play a whole game with this one eye closed. And that was my last game, my rookie year against Washington. It was in the fourth quarter, and I just could not see two people. And that's the one that I remember of concussion. Now, I think the rule says that a concussion is anytime you get a little ding or any kind of, that is a concussion. Now, how many of those I've had, I couldn't tell you. All of those things right there, because there's sometimes you get a little ding, and you just kind of catch your breath a little bit, and everything comes back. But that one where I was seeing two people, I remember that one. That one was clear. I open one eye, it's one guy. Two, is two dudes standing over there. So. Mm-hmm.
One's enough, right? One's tough enough once you get into the NFL.
Yeah, one's tough enough. One's tough enough.
Do you have any ill effects from those now that you notice at all?
Well, I don't know if I'm just because I'm getting old or stuff like that. There's always, some like, what I came in this room for? Oh, that's right. And then, you walk out, and you will turn back around and get what you came in there for. Those issues, but as in having real problems like some other guys, I don't see those yet, and I'm hoping I never see them.
Yeah.
I want to be able to say, when it's all said and done, watch my granddaughter grow up and play and do her thing, and if there's more to come, I want to be able to be, walk around and keep on. So I try to do the things that keep me healthy. And doing all the things that they say, when you get older and you want to enjoy watching, like they used to do when I was younger, my grandparents and all the stuff watching me when I was doing stuff, I want to be able to do those things. So I do all the stuff I got to do right now to try and keep myself in a good frame of mind, physically, mentally, emotionally. I'm a big believer about mental health, that you got in, that I get that from my oldest daughter, because, she's going to be a psychologist once she finishes this PhD program. So I'm just like trying to just get it done.
Well, your mental health, but you got into coaching. I don't know if those go together. Coaching is a tough profession, but you made the nice transition to that and really kind of got your start a little bit from Rex Ryan, right? You got an internship with him with the Jets. So you go from his dad buddy to Rex. Is that kind of what jump-started your coaching career?
I would say that probably put the jetpack on it. I started before I did that high school coaching. I was doing community coaching. I was watching my middle son play football, And I'm like, what are they teaching y'all? What are they teaching these linemen? What's going on with that? I just think that's just some of the most god-awful football I've seen. So I talked to the head coach, and he's like, well, you got to go through this stuff right here, but you're more than welcome to come on out and be my D-line coach. I said, all right, coach, I'll do what I got to do. So I was there for 2 years, and then I got that chance to do the internship with Rex. Now, remember now, when I was in Arizona, Rex was the D-line coach there my first year. So Jim Stanley was the D-line coach my second year there. Now, they made my life a little bit tolerable out there because, I would get to them and talk to them about some stuff, just because, we had that kind of relationship that, talking has never hurt anybody, and especially if they respect you, they'll talk to you all day. But Rex was my D-line coach, so, got in there, and it worked out that I ended up staying for the season in New York when he was with the Jets, just because of I knew the techniques. I didn't know the scheming the defense as in like, all that. It was similar to what we did in Philadelphia, but it was different. Rex had a little flavor on it. He did a little walk around stuff with the linemen and all the things right there. So it was a little different. And I knew Setting, but Mark Carey was the DB guy that was the D-line coach. And so we kind of worked well and good and all the stuff right there. I thought I was going to end up staying, but it didn't work out that way, all the things there. So I left there after a year, was out a year. Then I got the opportunity to go with the Rams with Fish, because Jeff Fisher was the last 3 years with Buddy in Philadelphia. He was the defensive coordinator. And I'm working with his oldest son right now.
And with the Rams, you work with some pretty good guys too. Aaron Donald, also Robert Quinn as well. What did you impart to them that has helped those guys have great careers, especially Aaron Donald?
Well, just little nuances about the game, because they were already gifted rushers and gifted players already. So what I would just try and do is just work little nuances with them, understanding where to take advantage of opportunities in there, because, pass rushing is still the same stuff. It's just the guys are probably faster at it. They're a little faster than they was when I was playing. In today's game, I'll probably be a 3 technique when I was playing instead of an N. So it's just the little nuances of it when, talking about when you study an opponent, what it gives you the opportunity to do, what he don't. And just trying to maximize it, trying to get them to realize that pass rushing is an art form. It's like, it's different between playing chess and checkers. You got to understand that most people don't think that, you see Aaron Donald doing all the stuff that he does, that he's winning 75, 80% of the time. No, he's probably winning 20, 25%, because people don't understand that if you win in 1 in 5, you're affecting the ball. And then you're affecting the ball, you're a pretty good player. And then if you win in 1 in 4, well, you're a really good player. That's the difference in there. So you're affecting the ball 1 in 4, 1 in 5. So as a defender, if you can do those things, you're a pretty good football player.
And now you're at Tennessee State, defensive line coach for Eddie Georgie, the head coach there with the Tigers. What are you enjoying about this experience at an HBCU as well, which is, something that's getting a lot more notoriety these days?
For me, I'm back to having fun again. I've had a lot of fun and stuff right there, but sometimes you get in there, you just get caught up in doing the job. You don't have as much fun about, enjoying the situation. For the most part, these young men are looking to be better. They want opportunities, as I said way back when we first started, that these kids today want the opportunity to play pro ball and they're going to consider themselves of being a pro player. I'm just enjoying coming to work, working with these young men, trying to train them right, teach them right, teaching the respect of the game and why you do all the stuff. All of those things, as I talk about making a living and all the things that will come if you do the things the right way, because if you're going to be bad, they don't want bad football players. They want good citizens too, but they ain't always going to get the absolutely perfect citizen in there when it comes to, being a good citizen. Sometimes they got some baggage in there. And, my job is to also help them understand that don't let your past dictate your future. You are what you are until you change your future, until you change your past. And your past says that you was a dirtbag. Well, you got to stop acting like a dirtbag so people start doing it. Now, people don't forget, but you got to keep building on the good things so that it's harder for them to pull that bad stuff that happened to you when you was young and stupid to affect you as you get older. So that's part of my job. That's my personal charge about these young men and stuff right there. So when I get to working with them, I'm just trying to have fun and just trying to teach them to be and help them as I tell them all the time, I'm not your damn daddy. So don't act like and all the stuff. I'm just an older cat talking to a younger cat. That's it. So I'm going to teach you and train you the best way I know how to be a better football player and a better man. I'm not going to allow you to get away with stuff because getting a degree is an option. And I'm so happy that I got my degree. I had to go back and finish. Why not do it while you're there? I became a great student when I started paying for it. It's amazing what you do getting on the dean's list when you start put some effort into it. And, I became a better student than when I started paying for my own school. And so, that's what I try to get them to understand that, it's just effort. It's just effort and opportunity.
Yeah, 1996, you said you went back and you got your degree from Western Carolina. You're getting ready for year 3, and it begins at Notre Dame as well. So it doesn't get much bigger than that, right? To start year 3 against the Irish.
I'm looking forward to it. I think, it's a great opportunity to showcase our talents and stuff. Gives us a chance to, go out there and show the world that, what, we play football here too. Now, we ain't got touchdown Jesus on our side. So, but we got some really good people that at this school that's, loyal to Tennessee State, loyal to the program, and we're just trying to go out there and compete. Every day we're going to go out there, it's about competition. And they got to understand that, what, we're just not going to walk in here and take something that's they own. They own the right for us to come in there and pay us to come in there and give them a good fight. Now, they don't expect us to fight hard, but that's not who we are. We're going to come out there and give you everything you got. So you're going to have to come in there and protect yourself because why? That's just the way we are. You may have bigger, faster, and all the stuff right there, but just because you're bigger and faster don't mean you ain't gonna have somebody that's gonna not be willing to fight you. So that's the one thing that we're gonna bring up there. And I'm enjoying the opportunity to go to Notre Dame because I've never been there.
So there you go. So you go to Notre Dame, and you're going to get a big upset. We'll be following along there. I want to ask you one last thing here. Again, several honors for you during your time after you were done. You're in the Eagles Hall of Fame. You're on the 75th anniversary team, and you're in the Greater Wilmington Sports Hall of Fame. You're the 5th member that we've had on our show here. Which of those really stand out to you as far as accomplishments that you've been able to have during your career?
I felt like when I got done playing in Philadelphia that I eventually get into the Eagles Hall of Fame and all the stuff right there. Just because at the time when I left, I was second all time in sacks. Just those numbers sake right there. So that was one of the things that's a big accomplishment for me, yes. But for me, the actual one that matters the most, that matters a great deal to me was the Wilmington one. The reason why is because, you got Hall of Famers like Roman Gabriel, Sonny Jurgensen. Those two guys right there are, are legendary as in what they did, and especially the time they played in. Roman, people don't realize how big Roman is or was. And Roman, he's just as tall as I am. And he played in a time where they didn't have the protections. Quarterbacks didn't have the protections they got now. So they was hitting him on his knees and hitting him late, 3 steps. There used to be a 1-step rule. You can 1 step and blast him. Well, they was 3-step and then smoking him up right there. And then the last time I saw him, he was still getting around pretty good and all the stuff right there. But those guys, just talking to him and all the stuff and talking about the history of Wilmington. There's so many great athletes that came out there from football, basketball, and baseball that came from that, little small city, not just all the stuff, not just New Hanover, not high school. We're talking about Laney, we're talking about Hargett. I don't know much about the new school easily and all the stuff right there, what they got out of there yet, because I haven't seen much about them. So I don't know much about them. But those other 3 schools that's been there for long periods of time, they have got so much talent that came out of their schools. Now, all of them wanted to play pro, but they had some great players out of there. They got, I believe, Pittsburgh got the little linebacker, Highsmith, Laney.
Yep.
I went to school with his uncle, and he's a great player. He's going to be he is really, really good.
Yeah.
And, there's a bunch of them, and there's some baseball players out there. I can't name them. Now, Trot was one of the ones that could have went play basketball, baseball, and football, but he decided he wanted to go play baseball and did well because he got him a world championship with the Red Sox. Those are kind of things that this city has that I look into, and I feel that that's the more fortunate thing in there because the Eagles and all the stuff right there in Western and all stuff, they got a thing. But this is a citywide thing right there. And not to mention all the great athletes that didn't play sports in high school in Wilmington. Because there are so many guys out there that didn't play. For whatever reason it may be in, circumstances of life or whatever, that didn't play. Or only played 1 year, or did something and you saw all the phenomenal athletes that did stuff in there in the youth leagues and all the stuff that played around there. It's a little mesh part of talent down there that sometimes people miss out on.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're based in Wilmington. We're not necessarily a Wilmington show, but we've had a lot of Wilmington folks on, as you said, the Greater Wilmington Sports Hall of Fame. To be included among that group is pretty impressive, and you are one of those, again, inducted in 2008. But Clyde, this has been great stories. Great to hear about your journey. Not bad for a guy who's petty, for to have the career that you've had in the NFL and now in the coaching ranks, doing some great job, great work there, and wish you the best of luck against the Fighting Irish at the beginning of this season coming up.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Well, another great story by Clyde Simmons, our guest here at episode number 66. Our thanks to him for spending time with us today. Also, thank you to Katrina Chambers with the Tennessee State football program for helping arrange that sit down with Clyde. We thank you for watching, for listening. Remind you to subscribe, to like, and to share if you did like this episode. More great episodes come your way soon. It is In the Front Row with Mike Vaccaro. Have a great day, everybody.